Gang, I've been following skiing a long time. As a young athlete, as a U.S. ski team athlete, as a student of the sport, as a ski instructor, and frankly, there's not a lot out there that is new as we're trying to figure skiing out, how to teach it, what's going on technically. I think we're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. And I've gone back a little bit and found some amazing nuggets of content that are so relevant today. PSIA these days is best in the world in dealing with people, in giving lessons. I think PSIA could be a little clearer with their technical approach, their technical statements. And that's what I'd like to get at today. So let me share with you what I think those technical core values could be for clarity, for our true north, for the benefit of the entire association. Now, these principles were not invented by me. They've been informed by many of my mentors, people I respect in the industry. Like I said earlier, there's not a whole lot that is new. When Sasha Ririk was coaching with the U.S. ski team, he came up with this pyramid for slalom ski racing. Sasha, along with a few of our PSIA Alpine teamers, viewed slalom video from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 90s, 2000s, all the way up into the present, looking for the common principles, themes that were consistent throughout time. And this is what they came up with this pyramid. So this pyramid here is very slalom specific, but it's the spirit of this pyramid that I've taken for my core principles when I teach, my go-tos every day when I'm dealing with instructors and the everyday recreational skier. I believe these values, these principles here are the foundation of which skiing is built. Skillful, inspired skiing will encompass these values. And it's from this foundation where the skills are implemented for style, for flair, for diversity of turn types, for various situations, and for skill level, from the World Cup turn, performance turn, basic parallel, down to the wedge. Here's how I view the 5 fundamentals. And it's just my view. I see these as skills that I teach every day when I'm on the hill, and skills that everybody needs to understand and be versed in. Yet I don't feel the 5 fundamentals are adequate. I don't feel the 5 fundamentals are all-encompassing enough, while they are simultaneously so important and a part of the equation when we seek to understand skillful skiing. I believe the core values, core principles that I'm proposing here work as a better framework and roadmap for the membership to understand the foundation of what good skiing is. You may wonder where this viewpoint of mine is coming from. I just feel that the membership could be clearer about what good skiing is and how to get there. Or, put another way, I think confusion exists out there. So I think it's important to be tight at the very top, and that trickles down to the everyday instructor and then the everyday guest. It's an age-old dilemma of how to communicate what good skiing is to the masses. This picture right here is from an article from Snow Country magazine in the 1990s. The frustration here that they're expressing cracks me up. Quote, lacking a clear picture of what the correct turn is. Well, there's not one way to turn, but there are principles that have been consistent of what skiing is. And my point is that those principles need to be clearly conveyed and understood so they can be transferred from the instructor to the guest, to the student. Now, to be fair, I think PSIA has been somewhat vague because they understand that the scope of what PSIA is trying to accommodate is huge. Geography, disciplines in skiing, skill level, style preference, ski choice. It's difficult to accommodate all of this. Yet there comes a point when it becomes quite clear that the technical message is vague, and as a result, there are consequences. That's what the Alpine team in the 1980s was trying to tackle with the center line. We must continue to make strong statements about skiing. Our lower level skiing must continue to get in tune with the best skiing at the higher levels, and vice versa. We must continue experimentation to discipline. When the center line came about back in the day, there was a general sense that the teaching skills of the membership was very strong, yet the technical understanding of the membership was a little bit foggy, and I think that is the case today. So the idea of possibly revisiting a modern version of the center line, which begins at the top with the World Cup turn, working down to a performance turn, basic parallel, the wedge, could be a good way to go about this today. Here's another quote from the centerline era. Deciding objectives beforehand does not mean that the lesson does not have specific and personal meaning to each individual student. And here's what I think is very important here in this. It means that you know what good skiing is. It's clear to you, and it becomes clear to your student as you teach them. Defining a core set of principles doesn't mean that you're fixed, but from that point, you modify. You can move laterally into bumps, into powder, into crud, into the ice, and accommodates different style. I find this a bit wild as I'm researching this video, going through all my old magazines and documents and looking at the center line. I find this photo of myself from my US ski team days, right opposite the center line. I don't know, not the greatest form, but there my past and my present come colliding together. So when I got involved with PSIA and started to work my way up to the PSIA Alpine team, I felt like I had a superpower, something that nobody else had. And that was an understanding at a cellular level of the basic principles of good skiing. Those timeless principles that really don't change all that much. This has been my true north, always, as my body understood skiing before my brain did. But then my brain started to catch up, and I started writing articles for the PSIA membership. And I think this was a very important time because shape skis were relatively new. And with the membership and with teaching, the pendulum was swinging all over the place in figuring out how to ski this equipment. But not for me. The timeless core principles of skiing were always there, never changing. Subtle adjustments made. Balance, foot-to-foot skiing. The movements originating in the lower body, establishing the platform with the new outside ski, the role of upper body stability and pole plants. There's another point that I think is important to point out, and that's technology and how it's changed over the years. We've talked about these principles here, and I've talked about how they're timeless. Yet, with the change of technology, there are nuanced changes. Equipment today allows for more efficiency and stronger alignment, so those will be some modifications in our movement patterns from the old technology. But the way a core set of principles can still be valid from one decade to the next is you're still speaking the language of skiing. Think of the English language. You have different accents, a British accent or a Texas twang. It's still the English language. Okay, everyone, let's accelerate this and take it to the next level. Hang on to your horses. Why not embrace the fundamentals found in a World Cup ski racing turn as the ideal parameters of excellent skiing and the starting point from which modifications can be made to accommodate situations, skill level, equipment, etc. It's my view that the concise, time-tested, vetted technical principles of the highest performance alpine turn can be modified, understood, and made relevant for the everyday skier under the PSIA umbrella. And this certainly has been the case of the past, as PSIA looked to skiers like Ingemar Stenmark. Okay, let's consider an analogy just real quick. Formula One race car driving, the Indianapolis 500, for example, that's the research and development department of the auto world, right? We're not Formula One drivers, we don't want to be, but our daily driving experience in the family sedan certainly is informed by Formula One. I'm making the argument that it's the same thing with World Cup ski racing. Very tight parameters. We don't all want to be ski racers, not at all. But what can be learned technically from the ski racers can transfer to the recreational skier. Now, why, you might say, use alpine ski racing as the research and development department as opposed to maybe moguls or big mountain and that sort of thing? It's my view that alpine ski racing is the most versatile, transferable for all situations that the recreational skier may experience. When we teach, clarity and understanding is so important because with that, we can simplify. It happens with my lessons all the time. People talk about how clear I am. I don't use complicated language. I get right to the essence of what's going on. Understanding the high-performance turn, understanding the core values and core principles helps to simplify when we teach. Okay, so here's my point. No, you don't have to be an Olympic gold medalist to be an effective ski instructor, but understanding a World Cup turn, understanding a high-performance turn does inform your understanding of a basic parallel, of a wedge turn. And with more understanding comes more effectiveness across the board. And this viewpoint isn't unique to me, having been there and done that as a World Cup ski racer. I think I've shown you in this video how this concept, this viewpoint, has been used in the past, looking at the best skiers in the world, the World Cup ski racers, as a model turn, where we find the core principles of skiing, the timeless principles that can be modified for different situations, for different style, and different skill levels. Oh my gosh, that was a lot. But I do have more. You can end right now if you like, but I've got a little more rationale and a little more history if you care to watch the rest of this video. About every 5 years, we discover a change in ski technique, which makes it easier for us to ski. The new technique is invariably a development by World Cup racers who combine technique with new equipment advances to become more efficient on their skis. Such a development has occurred over the last few years, and it's now being refined and adapted to recreational ski instruction by several U.S. ski schools. In the coming decades, ski instruction will emphasize from the outset of learning the image of a model turn, adaptable to different situations. What makes one skier better than the other? That's a tough question. I'll make it a little easier by asking what makes one skier's turns better than the others. There's clean, efficient skiing that allows the skier to adapt to the terrain, snow, and speed they wish to ski, giving them freedom, enjoyment, image, style, and accomplishment. Do we have a clear understanding and picture of the difference between this type of skiing and skiing that is restricting in any of these areas?